everybody. I am really excited that you all are here to join us today. I'm really excited. So my name is Danny. I am the Indigenous Initiatives Coordinator over at Open Air. I don't know, for all of you who aren't really familiar with Open Air, it is an arts organization based in Missoula. But we work kind of on the western side of the state, offering place-based residencies and for artists. And so, if you all are artists or know of any artists, you should follow us on social media. There's always some cool stuff going on, cool opportunities for artists. I am really excited today to introduce our speaker. She has been one of my really good friends for a while now. I was just trying to think, I was like, where did we even meet? Because it's been about 10 years. We actually met through Kiayo, University Powwow in Missoula, Go Grizz. I want to introduce everybody to Marita Growing Thunder, one of the most talented and amazing humans I know. Also so humble, I'm really excited to hear her speak today about just some of the cool stuff she does. So I'm going to turn it over to Marita. Oh, a few housekeeping notes. So if you can mute, everybody can mute themselves. That would be really helpful. And then if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat and we'll get to those at the end of the presentation. And what else am I missing? I made a notes app because I need it. And this will be recorded. I think it's recording now. And available to watch on our YouTube channel after. So if you if there's someone that couldn't be here today, we'll have the recording available soon. That's that. I will be quiet now and hand it over to Marita. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, everybody. My name is Marita Growing Thunder. I'm an enrolled member of the Fort Peck, Assiniboine, and Sioux tribes out of Poplar, Montana. Paternally, I come from the Growing Thunder family based out of North San Juan, California. But on my mom's side, I am Kiowa and Comanche from the Ahedi family based out of Hacienda Heights, California. A little bit more about me. I have a cat named Lewis, so I'm a cat mom. I'm also a Tui, which is Lakota for auntie. I am an auntie to about 5 kids right now. I probably average over 40 hours a week on beadworking since graduating from college. Although my background has many California roots, Missoula, Montana has been my home since starting at the University of Montana in 2017. I also attended all of my pre-K through 12th grade in Polson, Montana, despite being born in Southern California. I'm also a graduate of the University of Montana's Political Science program, and I hold a Bachelor of Arts. I've been professionally beadworking for about 2 years now. The title of my presentation, Wakshupi, is Living Art Can Be Taken Literally. I find the involvement and the creation and lifestyle choices are what make this personifiable. Wakshupi is the Lakota word for beadwork, but I wanted to refer to beadwork as Wakshupi not only to explain my background as a Dakota and Nakota person, but to refer to beadwork ancestrally as well. So in a historical sense and a modern sense. In a way, just kind of paying respect to the grandmas and generations before me who paved the way. I grew up dancing at powwows and learned respect for feathers and beadwork from my mother, who instilled strict rules upon us. And I heard, if you take care of your beadwork, it'll take care of you. This goes for the creation of beadwork as well. These are just my beliefs. There's a lot of different beliefs that people have surrounding their beadwork. For those of you who might be unfamiliar, American Indian beadworking is an indigenous art style to the Americas. It is a type of beadwork, embroidery that uses beads to tell a story. Going a little bit further into what beadwork actually is, I wanted to provide some examples. After the arrival of the settlers, trading began between tribes and settlers around the 1600s, and beads were introduced to artisans by the 1840s. Before beadworking, there was quill working, as you can see on the right-hand side of the presentation. Before beadworking, there was quill working, which is the predecessor to beadwork. I can only provide a general explanation as I'm still learning about the craft, and I want to respect my mentor's privacy in the practice. It is like, sometimes it is a closed practice, but it really is depending on your tribe and your background. Essentially, the process of creating a porcupine quill piece requires hours of processing and giving thanks to the animal. For my own understanding of the practice, you have to live with humility, intention, and integrity. And those are just some of the traits that we look for when you're chosen to be given this gift or this honor. These quills are intentionally placed onto hide or something stiff, like a design. So these quills are placed purposefully, and on the right hand side, that is a quilled piece. And it does kind of look like bugle beads or like a long bead. Going back to the 1840s, tribes such as the Assiniboine traded their porcupine quills for beads, thus revolutionizing embroidery, pace, and techniques. So beadworking was a little bit more accessible. Beadworking was faster. It all impacts us all differently. Beadworking is all done hundreds of different ways depending on your family and your tribe. I like to use the flat stitch technique, the hill stitch, which is I also just found this out recently. The hill stitch is what is the proper term for the lazy stitch. While I was doing some research, the lazy stitch I was doing research into the beadworking techniques that other people use, and I found out that the hill stitch is actually the preferred term. So there's also like the whip stitch and the loom beadwork or peyote stitch. Many tribes just use beads to express their stories, lineage, and aesthetic fashion trends. A little bit more about me. These are my grandparents. On the left-hand side is Joyce Growing Thunder, and on the right-hand side is Melvin Ahady. On the left-hand side, Joyce is still alive and well. She is in North San Juan, California, where she is based. She is my unchi, which is Lakota for grandma. She's a world-renowned artist with pieces in the Smithsonian, the Met, and in New York City, the Heard Museum in Phoenix, Arizona, and she is currently finishing a dress for the Denver Art Museum. I'm currently being mentored by her daughter, Marita Growing Thunder Fogarty. Under this mentorship, I was able to connect with my grandmother and my cousins, Jessa Ray and Cameron Growing Thunder. During this time, some of the Growing Thunder grandchildren even played stitches into the dress that is being made for the Denver Art Museum. That's another exciting thing that we're looking forward to with this mentorship that I'm doing. And then my grandfather on the right-hand side, Melvin Ahady, was a Marine of full-blooded Kiowa and Comanche descent. Kiowa and Comanche are two tribes that are in Oklahoma. He married my Cherokee grandmother, Glenda Ahady, in 1961. Much of the materials about my grandpa, Melvin Ahady, are located on the Los Angeles Times website. And my late Uncle Darren Ahady once shared this about my grandpa Melvin's character, which I found to be just, it moved me when I heard it. It was rare to hear his voice on the microphone. When asked to pray or speak, he would usually instruct his eldest son on what was to be said. Melvin never turned down anyone who would ask. People would call for prayer and ask to be seated, and he would never say no. This was especially apparent when asked to sing for shows or powwows. I felt that quote of never saying no is something that is lost in a lot of different ways. And I think that that's part of why I chose to go into beadworking, was just to kind of connect with my family and heal. And I was just very moved by his character of never saying no to somebody praying or needing prayer. The Los Angeles Times reflected back on Indian life through Shades of LA, which is now an archived project. Shades of LA showed what life was like back then for Indian people, as well as what it was like for modern life, or what modern life was like for Indian people in the 90s in Los Angeles. I definitely would give that like a look through. I think that's worth the time. My grandpa Melvin's love for powwows and powwow season among Plains tribes was passed down through my mother, Shannon Ahady, and I'm inspired so much by my family and their involvement in powwows, specifically my older sister, Genevieve. I definitely use this inspiration to fuel my beadwork and I guess just gain inspiration from seeing people dance and seeing like my beadwork dance. My grandpa Melvin Ahady sadly passed away in January of 1995 in Los Angeles, California, and this was sadly before I was able to meet him. So going into some of their examples of their beadwork, my grandparents' beadwork. Joyce and Melvin's work are seen on the left and the middle. Joyce's work is on the left in the middle, and Melvin's work is on the right-hand side. So with the dress on the left-hand side, in 2006, the Growing Thunder family made the giveaway horses dress, which is in the Smithsonian right now in Washington, D.C. The giveaway horses dress explains how my grandpa, Ben Greyhawk, would place a war bonnet onto a horse and then sing an honor song to the horse, where it was then released among a crowd of men. And whoever caught the horse got to keep the horse. And this was done to honor the grandchildren of the Greyhawks. So the Greyhawks took care of my grandma Joyce, and that's how I'm related to them. This giveaway horse's dress was made intergenerationally, meaning that the dress was a collaboration among my grandma, my aunt, and my cousin Jessa Ray. Another example is the doll that is seen right here in the middle. This was made in 2000, and it's currently at the Met. On the right-hand side is Melvin Ahady's work. The top right photo is of my mother and her brothers, and all the beadwork seen was made by my grandpa Melvin, and he taught himself. So if you go from in the photo from left to right, the top right photo, it is Darren, my mother Shannon, Walter, and Glenn. And those are all my mother and her brothers. Just a little bit more about myself. My background with art feels like it's hereditary. When I first started at the University of Montana, I was an art major for about 2 years until 2019, when I changed majors. I thought of myself more as a musician than I was an artist. I started playing trombone in the 6th grade, and I continued to play all throughout high school and even into college until the pandemic. My work with art was political. In high school, I made ribbon skirts for MMIW, which stands for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. And I wore them every day my senior year just to raise awareness of the issue. From my perspective, sewing was a lot faster than beadworking, especially when dedicating a skirt to a story or a woman every day. So I would make ribbon skirts every single day of my senior year of high school. And that was that was definitely significantly a lot faster than beadworking. However, I do place a lot of effort into making skirts. It definitely exercises different muscles than beadworking. For example, making all those skirts in high school caused me to have carpal tunnel syndrome when I grasp fabrics or materials at different angles for long periods of time. I, however, do not have carpal tunnel syndrome when I bead. So sewing and beading physically use different muscles. Um, Another question is like, why the ribbon skirt? The ribbon skirt is a hallmark of Indigenous fashion these days. Many tribes have their own styles of ribbon work in their regalia. Ribbon skirts were accessible to me growing up. I didn't necessarily grow up with my Fort Peck background. I didn't get to know that part of myself until I got older when I had to make that choice myself. Um, I also just wanted to show some respect to my Greyhawk grandmothers who made ribbon skirts before me, while also respecting the color choices of their time. What makes this style of ribbon skirt unique to my tribe and my family is the color and the technique used to sew it. Traditionally, they were made with silk ribbons, and the colors are intentionally randomized, but I like to stick to the red, white, blue, and gold color palette. For some skirts, such as the middle's photo, I hand stitch a rolled hem. So I did that all by hand, the middle photo. And I learned to perfect ribbon skirts after studying my grandmother's ribbon skirts. So another one, this slide kind of just goes into beginning stages and planning. During this mentorship, I shaped how I view patterns and colors among studies of my family designs. During college, I obtained access to an iPad, which allowed me to study photos of family beadwork a lot better, with adjusting colors or size of borders. You never really know how your work is going to turn out because the beads fit into each other so differently and uniquely that it's not going to show up the way you plan it. But it's definitely a great tool to help visualize your plans. So from left to right, I do have these designs kind of in chronological order of how I made them. The leaf, starting from left to right, the leaf is red and blue and surrounded by a yellow border. That is a Kiowa maple leaf. It is made only for women in the tribe, the Kiowa tribe. The red represents blood, and the blue is up to interpretation depending on the Kiowa person, depending on like who's wearing it. Some say that the blue will represent the sky. Some people say that represents blue that you see in your veins when you look at your arms. It really is just dependent. Then below there, I have a red and yellow maple leaf, along with an outline of a maple leaf. These designs were passed down to me by my mother. I do have like a sun design, which is that circular design with the blue. I got that design from my grandmother. It's a feather design. Another design I have is the moccasin design, which is next to the glove. That is supposed to be an Assiniboine style moccasin that I actually will be showing the results of later in this presentation. And then the gauntlet, the glove, I actually designed that more recently, where my mom had asked me to visualize some gloves for her. And this is what I came up with. It's an Assiniboine style mountains with feathers. And that's on the furthest right-hand side. So around 2023, I started to pick up the needle with intention. I started with moccasins, as seen in the middle of the presentation. I started those in 2022 around my senior year of college. I did the right moccasin and my grandma did the left moccasin, and they helped me put these together for my college graduation. They were then completed in spring 2023. Following college graduation, I did make a southern brick stitch cuff, which is seen on the left photo. Um, I made that after visiting my cousin Jessa Ray. That is made with size 11's Miyuki Delicas. That's the type of bead that I used. And that is what I've heard is an otter print or an otter tracks. Then the following photo, the last photo on the right-hand side, I actually went to California, to North San Juan to visit my grandmother, and I beaded alongside them where I completed a cradle. So that is a toy-sized baby cradle. And that was approximately like this big. The beads, what were used were size 13 vintage and Charlotte seed beads. And that cradle was shown at the 2024 Herd Indian Market. So again, those are the moccasins that I designed earlier, and they turned out completely different. And I made those for my nephew, which I will get into a little bit further. My bag on the left-hand side, starting going from left to right with these photos. The bag was completed in February 2024 using Comanche brick stitch technique and peyote stitch designs. The crossbody is made from navy wool, backed with blue brocade and edged with sky blue silk ribbon and red cotton bias. The bag has red and pink padre beads, buffalo nickels along with hide fringe. This bag was shown at the Herd Indian Market in March 2024 and then sold at the Mapia Luta Art Show in South Dakota in June 2024. The following photo, the photo of me in the center, is me at Santa Fe Indian Market in 2024 with a peyote stitched cane. It was approximately 32 inches in length and about 1.5 inches in width. The beads were size 11 Miyuki Delicas, and the handle was stainless steel. As you can see there are some beaded roller skates in there, and those were done by my baby sister Cameron Growing Thunder. I think that they were very impressive as well. And then finally on this slide, there is the moccasins that I did discuss earlier. I like to call them running bears first Honpas. That's the official name. They are Assiniboine moccasins that I made for my nephew Klaus, who started kindergarten at the time of creation. These are flat stitched on smoke commercial hide with size 11 Charlotte seed beads. And I completed these moccasins in December 2024. The following slide shows my work from 2024 to 2025. Starting from the left-hand side, the cradle is a Kiowa cradle. It was loomed with size 13 Charlotte seed beads. There's also a hill stitched backboard connected to the upholstery tacked boards. I started this cradle in 2024 for the Santa Fe Indian Market, but I later completed it this year. All my work, I feel like, this is just an aside, all my work, I feel like, could always use more work on top of it. It's just whether or not I want to take it apart again to add more things. So I think that cradle is done. I'm not quite sure. In the middle photo there, that is a brooch and my beaded earrings. I made And you can see that I wore them to my art show in the next photo on the right-hand side. The brooch is the yellow circle, is the circle with the yellow hair. And the two earrings are the ones with the thimbles and the wool. And the final photo on this slide is a Kiowa lance that I made for the Herd Indian Market Show in March 2025. It was peyote stitched using designs off of my grandmother Glenda Ahades cane. The dimensions are about 60 inches by 1.5 inch width of the lance itself. And the dimensions of the stainless steel tip lance, or the lance tip, was 10 inches by 3.5 inches at the widest part. And that took me about 8 weeks to complete, where I would get up at 6 a.m. and just start beating on that until 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. So it would just be an all-day endeavor. So this slide shows what 2025 has offered me. There is again the lance at the bottom with more detail without me in it. Starting from left to right, I did finish this white buffalo bag for the Santa Fe Indian Market that did happen in August 2025. And those are two sketches that I have done in the past few months. Just some, one of them is a ledger sketch, and the other one is a possible design idea for future beadwork endeavors. Going back to the white buffalo bag, I actually got the white buffalo design from my tattoo artist, Josh Whitemouse, out of South Dakota. I just added some Assiniboine flares to the design, such as the big white or the big thick border around the bag. I also added some sacred numbers to the bag. There are 7 stars below the buffalo, 7 feathers surrounding the buffalo, 7 spots on the buffalo. There are also 4. 4 is also another sacred number. There are 4, I guess, sections of pink and 4 sections of blue on the border. So basically the number 7 is highly regarded in Lakota culture because it is a reoccurring number throughout the Osheti-Sakowee, the 7 Fire Council. For example, there's of course the 7 council fires, which is meaning like 7 different tribes of Sioux people. There are the 7 sacred rites, and 7 is just reoccurring theme throughout many stories. This bag taught me a lot. It's not just about beating in a circle, but I was going through a hard time when I was making this bag. And if anything, it taught me how to be a better relative. And the stories that come out of this bag and what the white buffalo stands for, it brought me closer to these stories. Going back to the drawings, the middle design, I submitted a art poster for Missoula, indigenizing the Zach in Missoula, and so that was my submission. It's got the sun and the 2 buffaloes, and then there's the waterbird design. That's the end of this presentation that I have, but I just wanted to acknowledge and thank everybody for coming to see me talk. I really appreciate the moment where we can acknowledge this. So if there are any questions.
Yes, if you have any questions, I invite you to pop them in the chat. We already have some words of love in the chat. And I'm happy to get us started with some. I have a question, Marita. I was curious if you could talk about, I love hearing about numbers and how you incorporate numbers with certain meaning. Could you also share a little bit about color and how you think about color, how you incorporate color?
Yeah. So when I was talking about my skirts, I was talking about like a red, white, and blue and gold palette. I tend to stick to it's a color palette that my tribe uses that was popular in the 1890s, and that's what my family uses, the red, white, blue, and gold. Sorry, my sister just asked a question and I forgot I could totally answer that question too. So I do know that Sioux like to use blue, and so I just like to expand on my colors with I like to expand on blue when I talk about that color palette. Sometimes I'll expand into red and use more red and pink and white. Yeah, I have heard stories where some people do have to earn their colors. I have not had to earn colors. I just go for it. Some people might have different associations with colors that I can't answer for. I just like to stick to my blues.
Awesome. Thank you. Genevieve is wondering, did you cover your history with looming?
Oh, and my sister left a really good note. She said that blue is one of the first colors of beads traded from the settlers. So my history with the loom. So looming is basically like this, they call it the original computer. So I like to think that Native people were a lot more advanced than people give us credit for. But the loom is you basically do pixel by pixel, bead by bead. And that's the first thing I taught myself. So when I go back through my presentation, anyways, I do have like a loomed cradle. I really want to show you. I'm just trying to explain looming. It's basically you just align the beads behind the screen and you push them through, and then you guide a string through the needle, and so it creates levels, and those levels build on each other. Looming was also significant to my grandpa Melvin Ahady, and he actually built his looms himself and taught himself how to loom. And all of the beadwork that was done on my Uncle Walter's outfit was all loom beadwork. I see that there is a question. I do listen to music while I bead. I watch a lot of TV, a lot of anime, a lot of sitcoms, a lot of reality TV. I know that's shocking. I do like to listen to a lot of powwow music and vlogs on YouTube as well. I see a question. Do I ever sketch before beating a project or just trust the process? So I do like to sketch it out. I like to sketch out an idea on my iPad. I can show you a few examples of what I was doing last night while preparing for this. So I just use Sketchbook, which is an app. This is one of my examples of what I would like to do. What I would like to do for my next project. I don't know if you can see that. So I like to sketch out an idea, but the beads always, they organically fit into each other. When you actually lay down the beads and you're about to sew them down, they'll sit differently. And so your design will come out perfect in its own way. My aunt was just talking to me the other day, my Aunt Juanita, who is mentoring me. And we were talking about how I should approach this next project. And she was mentioning to me how she just trusts the process and that it's just her old style way of beadworking. Instead of, she just lays down her guidelines and just goes for it. Unlike some of us where we just plan it out. I mentioned the move from quills to beads. Do I still use quills? Why or why not? I have to be gifted the honor to use quills. It is like, in my family, it is a closed practice. For some people, it's different. You have to, again, live your life, a certain lifestyle, in order to, I guess, obtain the ability to become a quill worker. I really want to. I have started the process. I do know how to clean, sort, and dye. It's just about having to help my family through the process. Yeah, I would eventually like to pick up some quill work. It just depends on time. And then where you can see my artwork next, I did just apply to the Herd Indian Market in Phoenix, Arizona. I am trying to get more involved in Missoula art, and Montana art, but it's just getting started. That's just a little bit more difficult. My family already is established in Santa Fe and Phoenix, and so it's a lot easier to, I guess, get my foot in through the door. However, I do post my artwork on my Instagram as soon as it's done, and I'm allowed to. I like to give myself some space when I'm done completing a project, and I like to, one, see if there's anything else that can be done, and two, usually I have to wait until my artwork is done being judged for an art show in order to post. But that's where I usually post more of it. And if you're interested in seeing more, my Instagram is write it in the chat at Marita Growing Thunder.
Hi, I'm typing so much, so I thought maybe I can just ask you. This is so interesting. I loved learning about the spiritual and emotional connection you share about when you did the beadwork. And I'm curious if you ever had opportunities to be invited to schools and working with young people and supporting their connections with their spiritual and emotional connections through some of the beadwork.
Yeah, I haven't been invited yet. That is something that my family, like the lead artists of the collective, that's something that they would usually do. However, now that I'm expanding and doing more independent projects, I'm open to teaching more people. It's a lot easier to explain what I'm doing or show what I'm doing rather than explain. It's definitely great that you went to hear more people. I don't know, you want to hear more connection spiritually and emotionally with artwork. Do you have any follow-up questions with that?
I just thought the example you shared was so beautiful, and I want to hear more. But I
Oh,
also
okay.
know it can be private. You don't have to share. But I'm very intrigued and wanted to know, like especially during those connections, how do you journal about it? Like, how do you experience it? How does it like look like, feel like for you? I want to hear more stories, and
Yeah.
selfishly for my own sake. But you don't have to share if you're not comfortable.
No, I'm willing to share. So beadworking kind of takes up my whole life right now. I am, you know, I it's what I do for fun. It's what I do to pass time. It's just if I'm doing nothing, I'm going to be sitting down and doing it. Or I can't complain about being bored when I have all of this to do. And my social life has definitely taken a toll, or it's definitely taken a toll on my social life. So there is this thing called walking with sobriety, and that is a really big theme for Native artists, is reconnecting and making sure that you're not like hindering yourself from the best person you can be and the best relative you can be. And so I don't like go out and party. I don't um I guess it's a really nice thing to hold and to also in turn feel held by it. It definitely um it changed my life and it saved my life. Beadworking has. I don't know where I'd be. I wouldn't have any goals if I didn't have beadworking. Um, I'm just thinking about journaling because I don't really journal, although I should journal. I do feel like my journal is my beadwork because it just holds everything that is happening to me at the time. Just like I have that really big association with this buffalo bag that I just completed. Um, yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
Yes, last call for any questions. If not, I just wanted to do another thank you, Marita, for sharing your. Oh, Derek asked if you've been applying for grants.
I'm so sorry. My landlords just decided to do all of this yard work while I am. Um, I have been applying for grants. I have not received any. Um, it is definitely a difficult time for being an artist right now, and I appreciate Open Air for providing this time and space for a moment like this.
Yes, thank you, Marita, for sharing your gifts with us. I'm all the time. I'm just like amazed, like what you can do with your hands. I look at your buffalo bag and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like how do you like with your fingers, like do you wear anything on them, or like do you like what are those things called? Like the little
Symbols.
yeah. Or
Sometimes when I first started or when I keep going and my fingers get really raw, I like to keep calluses on my hands. So I like to bead without anything on my fingers just because it's easier to grasp. But sometimes those needles will cut really deep.
yeah.
My aunt will actually make thimbles out of hide.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah.
so she'll just measure, she'll just measure the outline of her finger and then from there cut out two of them and then sew around the edge and just stick her finger in.
Yeah, I know. That's what my mom used to do. My mom's hands used to be so raw, and I'm like, yeah. But thank you. And I just like a couple things too before everybody disperses. So our next Indigenous Initiatives speaker series event will be happening on November 14th. I just looked it up and I forgot it already. And we will, November 12th. Sorry, I misspoke. November 12th at noon. And we will be speaking with Julianne Denny. She is based in Rocky Boy and does a lot of cool things. And then also just wanted to put in a little shameless plug for an art exhibition that we collaborated with Art Mobile Montana on. So they will be debuting the show, which is a focus on Indigenous artists across the state. And they will be debuting this exhibition at our fundraiser event, the Open Air Open on September 21st, it's Sunday at is it Fort Missoula? Fort Missoula. So if y'all like golf and art and food and music and about bouncy houses, like you should definitely come. We'd love to see you. Even if you're not a golfer like me, like come hang out, come see me, come visit, like come look at some cool Indigenous art. It's really exciting. It's actually, I think, the first time they've really did a focus on Indigenous art. And so it's gonna be a little bit of uplifting Indigenous education, and providing those cool opportunities for students across the state. I probably Lizzie, I forgot something. I don't know. But again, like I think, and again, another shameless plug. Go and follow Marita on social media because her work is amazing, and like I just like, yeah, I'm all the time. Oh yeah, Carrie, there our whole schedule is in the chat. So if you want to just put it in your calendars, we have a bunch of cool artists we're gonna connect with in coming months. I'm like the chat is going off. So just like Stella has exhibition going on at the MAM October 3rd. Yeah, Stella is on our is it the board or our Indigenous Initiatives Committee. Also, yeah, no, if any of you know Indigenous artists that would be, interested in doing an interview, I'm always I love connecting with artists. Like this is like my dream job. I just get to like visit with artists and just talk about all the cool things they're doing. So yeah. I'll put my email in the chat. But yes, thank you everybody for joining us.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Marita. We'll see y'all next time.
Thank you.